What's up, good duelers? This your boy Rogue Scientist here with another video. Two things. Before we begin, I got two things to mention. In my last video, when I mentioned about the combo with Called by the Grave and Foolish Burial, well, it doesn't work for the fact that I don't know why I overlooked it. That Called by the Grave only works, it only banishes your opponent's monsters and not yours. So I kind of overlooked that effect. But and then another one, Hope for Escape. Hope for Escape, when you activate it, you gotta make sure your opponent's life points are higher than yours. But other than that, all is good. You can still incorporate the two cards to get you advantage over your opponent. But just remember, Called by the Grave only works for your opponent's graveyard. One subscriber pointed that out to me. I had to double check the card. I'm like, hey, he's right. So, I mean, we all make mistakes. We all overlook things. So, you know, it is what it is. But the thing I want to discuss to you today is I am actually going to take my live twin to the tourney at Tinley Park tonight. Yes, we stepping in the den of the lion with my innovative tech and IQ plays. Only disadvantage I may have will be that I don't have the meta cards that I used to have. As I mentioned, I had sold all my meta staples like my Lightning Storms, Triple Tactics Talents, you name it, I sold it for the fact that they were going to get reprinted. And two, I needed help at the time. So I'm still working on getting all that back, but the lower rarities at a cheaper price. Nothing much to miss anyway. So yeah, if you haven't looked at my live twin deck profile, be sure to check that out. And there's going to be another update on it as well come December 1st after Brothers of Legend, because I am actually considering incorporating the Destiny Hero Plasma package in that deck. So There's only going to be two cards that's considering the Plasma package, which is Plasma himself and the continuous spell card that's in Brothers of Legend that searches him from the deck and graveyard and protects him and others from card effects some type of way. But the only thing is, when you activate that, it takes up your draw phase. So if you don't mind losing your draw phase, then you're okay. But in my situation with the live twins, I will always draw regardless of a draw phase or not, because you still got your Kill that draws upon special summoning. You got your You got your Kill Frost that lets you draw after your opponent's search or upon resolution. And you get the, if you're running it, Pot of Desires. Only run two. I don't see going more than that. Reason why I run two, just so I can see it in my hand, or if I draw it off like a Kill. But throughout the entire duel, you only need to activate one. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Everything else that I showcased on my live twin deck profile, I'm using that exact. I have not changed the list. I have not changed anything. I'm using that exact deck list for Tinley Park tonight. And like I said, my only weakness that I may have is they got the better cards like the Tactics, the Droplets, and Lightning Storms. But, you know, I got to find a cheaper route. I always do. And My prediction, I may be in the top 8. That's my prediction. But I'm coming into this tournament with unexpectancy. So whether I do well or not. So if it doesn't do well, back to square one. Look at the deck, reevaluate. But my whole purpose of my deck and also this channel is to do things on my own instead of following what the pro players and what others are playing, like, the common stuff. I just want to go outside of that and use my own methods to even top. And that in turn gives me my respect from pro players, because I used to play competitively, but I now play locally because I don't have time to do a competitive standpoint. Not unless they change it from Saturday to Monday, like a Sunday and Monday. That would have been great, but it's only a weekend thing and I can only do Sundays. And the closest thing to me for doing something on that competitive level is regionals, which they do hold on a Sunday. And some case tournaments. So, now let's see. What you guys think that how I'm gonna do tonight? I will also post another video, if not tonight, tomorrow for sure, about the aftermath of the tournament, what decks I played against, and kind of go over my mistakes and what went wrong for me to lose. So, and what I did to win or to counter some other stuff so that you may incorporate in your decks other than Lab to Win. So, and that's pretty much it. But I can discuss a few things with you guys, since a few of you prefer general discussions and card tips, card texts that I have used in the past and also still using to this day. However, I'm just incorporating the same things into different decks. Sometimes they blow in my face and sometimes they don't. And then I would take what is good out of that deck, put it in another deck, and make that to the ultimate deck I want to focus on building. Just like Rogue Hero focuses on heroes, I'll focus on things that are more consistent and more outlandish, to the point to where even a pro player will literally have to sit there, pick up my card and read it to see what it actually does, and then they will wind up calling judge just to make sure it actually works that way. And that's the crazy part about it. When you play Rogue, even though pro players are not used to cards outside of their thinking, will enter a tournament such as theirs, and they have to sit there, read it, and then ask the judge, do it actually work? That's what gets me in. And I just can't help to sit there but laugh. But at the same time, I mean, a pro player is only calibrated to duel what they expected to duel. Duel what they expected to duel against. But something as a rogue, they have to sit there and study your deck, and then at the end of game one, now they're sitting there scratching their heads like, I don't know what the side deck against this guy, because I really don't know what his deck actually does. And that's my whole thing. Keep them guessing. The more you keep them guessing, the better chance of winning that you may have. Also, when I build my deck, I don't go by that whatever calculator you guys are, or the pro players are looking at to determine the ratios and things of that matter of how likely or least likely you're going to pull this type of card and all that stuff. Me, I go by the ratio in terms of 4 categories: my monster ratio, my spell ratio, my trap ratio, and the overall deck count ratio. So into those 4 categories, you may think of it as it's pretty much the same as what they're doing, but you could be somewhat right. But depending on what you're trying to go for and how you see it, the general rule to getting your cards is your card should be around 40. Your deck should be around 40 cards. However, even having 40 cards can also mess you up. So in my case, most of my decks never ran at 40 cards. Live Twin is the very first in how many years I've been playing Yu-Gi? Let's see. I started back around 2003. So yeah, 18 years of me playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Live Twins is my only and first deck that I ever had at 40. So I never play 40 because the only time I play 40 is dependent on 1 card ratio. And that is only my spell card ratio. If my spell card ratio is somewhere between 15 to 20 spell cards in the deck, I will run my deck at 40. But if my monster ratio is greater than 25, depending on the deck, for example, like Fables, I run like 25 monsters all day long. So if I'm running something like a Fable deck, my monster count is going to be greater than 20 monsters, at best 25. But my deck count is somewhere between 43 and 45. So depending on my monster ratio, my deck count will always be a odd quantity. But it's still close to 40. So like 41 or 43. And if my spell card ratio is even and my monster card is less than my spell ratio, if my monster card count is less than my spell card count, my deck count overall will always be even. It will be either 40 or 42. So, and it all depends on your extenders and your starters. So if you got no starters but a lot of extenders, your deck count has to be greater than 40. But if your starters are greater than your extenders, then your deck count should be at 40, so that you can get your consistency and have the greater chance of pulling your extenders later on. That's just me. So you don't have to take this 100%, but this is some information that you can see like, hey, let me go ahead and give this a shot. It doesn't work. But most duelists now only follow the minds of pro players at top and win the championships. That's all fine and dandy. But me, I'm just my own duelist. I do my own thing. But what I do is I study. And the only reason why I look at the meta decks now is that I look at their end boards. I don't care what deck it is. Floowandereeze, Sword Soul, Tri-Brigade, Drytron. So I pretty much study the plays. I study the plays and the end boards. And once I get that all down packed and I know what to look for and what to stop, then I go into my archive of cards that I currently have and use that to take you down. But like I said, once I get the meta cards, then I'm gonna use them against you. But when you look at the way competitive play is, some players will always think in order to beat meta, you got to have meta. And that's not always true. Because you can beat meta with rogue. You can beat a tier 0 with rogue. So when not Sky Striker, when what's that deck? Yeah, help me out here. Shoot. What's that deck? Spyros, that's what it is. When Spyros was tier 0, they had the full nut combo. I just come in with my budget-friendly $35 deck and smack the shit out of them. Excuse my language, but reason why I say that because they get too cocky and look at you as a noob, and that's something I don't like. They don't give people that don't play meta respect. Like, oh, I admire your creativity type of thing. No, if you ain't got meta, you can't come to the meta table. That's pretty much their perspective. Not all, but some that are real cocky, like I built this deck to top. They come in with an expectancy to win. But if you forget the fun aspect of it, you're going to make some that try to come in and ask for questions quitting Yu-Gi-Oh! And or not wanting to come to the shop that you normally go to and find another shop that would accept the little things that they're trying to do and trying to accomplish, and they just need to be pointed in the right direction. Even if, in your case, their deck sucks, or they just got cluster full of cards with no purpose. Okay. Now that I got that out of the way, so just to add to that, that is the reason for this channel. So that you can get these plays without having the rich boy cards and the rich boy plays. You can still compete being cheap. You don't need expensive to counter expensive. You can counter expensive with cheap. Reason why it's cheap because it's not used competitively, because they deem it unworthy in their perspective and the perspective of others that topped, win championships back to back. That's fine. However, Rogue is coming back on the map. As I saw in one extravaganza, I forgot where it was, where the standings of the most decks that were in the tournament outside of Jing Jing, Sword Soul, 19% of that pie was Rogue. So that goes to show you that out of all the top meta decks that are here and currently playing now, 19% of that popularity is Rogue. Remind you, that's 19% out of 100. So if 19% is Rogue, there is 81% meta. And then we're entering January, which is 2 months away, where the ban list may make or break some of these metas and put rogues on the map. Something to think about here. So even beginner duelists, when they want to learn something, if you're a duelist or a beginning duelist and you want to know the first thing to learn is, just learn the mechanics. Learn Master Rule 4 revision and study the deck archetypes. What else to talk about? Uh, yeah, I really can't think of nothing else. Um, Also, I'm thinking about incorporating, since I'm seeing a lot of counter traps just popping here and there. I'm thinking about incorporating the continuous trap card, Royal Decree. And reason why I say Royal Decree is really good now because you got a lot of back row heavy decks like True Draco, Altergeist, Ellic, and also Sky Striker. But Sky Striker is more spell based in the terms of back row. But you really can't be sure, so you really can't be sure what to expect. And there's also, yeah, that's exactly what I want to talk about too. There's a 2-card combo I want to incorporate. Haven't tested it yet. It's gonna go in untested, and I want to use this 2-card combo to see if it will slow down the meta. And also, you can beat them in time too if you get it. If you get these 2 cards right, I mean, if you get these 2 in your hand. And one card is Soul Levy, and the old school card Skull Invitation. So Soul Levy came out a few sets back, and it's a continuous trap. And what it does is that each time your opponent, I think either normal or special summons, period. Each time your opponent special summon a monster or monsters, they have to send the top 3 cards from their deck to the graveyard. So every time they special summon, they got to mill 3 from the top of their deck. That may be an advantage to them and a complete disadvantage. But when you combine that card with Skull Invitation is a very old card, continuous trap card. And what it does is that as long as this card remains face up on the field, that could be my addition to that. But the effect is any card that gets sent to the graveyard inflict 300 points of damage for every card sent to the graveyard. So imagine you combine this with Soul Levy, and every time your opponent special summons one monster, they take 900 points of damage and lose the top 3 cards of their deck. And every time they link summon, for example, if they go for a link 2, they got to send 2 monsters to the graveyard and for that link summon. So 2 more cards hit their graveyard, so that's another 600. So it's kind of like saying it's similar to the Despia Fusion, that every time they have to pay, your opponent has to pay 600 to activate cards or effects. It's similar to that, but for every special summon, they take 900. And for every card sent to the graveyard, whether it's by link summon, hand summoning, dumping, or discarding to the graveyard, or even banished to graveyard, they take 300 points of damage for each card that gets sent to the graveyard. Yes, if you take a card banished and put it in the graveyard, you take 300. Because it literally says any card sent to the graveyard. So, yeah, if your opponent want to go ahead and do that in the Deer Servant and dump a card in the graveyard like Tis, that's fine. But upon resolution, I mean, depending on whose turn it is, I mean, the Tis will probably pop it off before they even take the 300. But that's just one of the combos I want to incorporate. And also, you guys start running some field spell cards. Go ahead, get your metaverses, your demise of the lands, your terraform. Start running some field spell cards. And reason why I say this is that these 2 to 3 field spell cards that I'm going to mention to you can actually help you out. And it's way better than one of the field spell cards is way better than Shared Ride. because share right lets you draw for every time your opponent search. Yeah, every time he searches or add a card from the graveyard to the hand, I believe that last part. One of the field spell cards I'm going to mention is Extra Net. So what Extra Net does is, when a player summons monsters from the extra deck, the opponent of the person that summons that monster applies its effect. You draw a card. So if your opponent extra deck summons, you draw a card. However, if you extra deck summons, guess who draw a card? Your opponent. So be careful when you're using extra deck, when you summon your extra deck. So this is one field spell card even Florunda Reeds can use to their advantage for the fact that they don't special summon from an extra deck. So when the opponent does, they draw a card, gain card advantage. And another spell card I want to mention is Field Breaker? I think it's Midfield Breaker. And it's similar to Summon Limit, but the thing is, if your opponent summons their third monster, it immediately ends their turn. So when your opponent special summons, for example, one monster and then go into a special summon, and then they use this effect to special summon a monster from the deck, they go ahead, chain the Metaverse and put Midfield Break on the field, and then sit on it. And then when your opponent special summons their third monster, after the chain resolves, upon resolution of summoning that third monster, guess what happens? Their turn ends. So those two field spell cards would definitely help you in terms of putting controlling it with your own dual speed, if that makes sense. And I really want to get those. I got those cards, but I want to implement them in decks that may seem inconsistent, but you can make them consistent. So, and you can also slow down your opponent too with Midfield Breaker and also Extra Net, because your opponent does not want you to have cards in your hand. He will either rip them from your hand by card effects, or he's going to stop you from adding cards with Droll, Ash, things like that. But with Extra Net, if they're like, I don't care how many cards you got in your hand, I just want to put my board on the field. Well, let them put their board on the field, but guess how many cards you're going to have in your hand at the end of it? Because on average, to establish a board like theirs requires at least 15 summons to establish a board like that. And I have counted, and I have also recorded how long it takes them to establish their board. It takes an average of 7 to 8 minutes for them to establish their boards. Drytron. And when you go through your turn and you sit there reading your card so that you won't make a misplay, you may have some of them look at you and say, could you hurry it up? Like, could you hurry it up? We ain't got that much time. This is net. But what they don't realize is you didn't say nothing on their turn when it took them 7 to 8 minutes to establish their board. But you only 2 minutes into your turn. And now they got a problem. They're very impatient. And that's exactly what happened to me at the shop in Tinley Park when I was sitting at the top table with a road deck. One guy was playing Drytron, and it took him 8 to 10 minutes to establish his board. I'm only 2 minutes into my turn, and he told me, could you hurry it up? This is net. Thinking I had nothing to do. And I told him, nah, you're going to sit there and wait just like I gave you. Which I gave you the floor to shine. I didn't complain. I didn't do nothing. It took you 8 minutes for that board. And I showed him the time it took him to establish that board. And I'm only 2 minutes into my turn. You will give me the same. You will give me the benefit of the doubt and the respect and the time to do what I need to do to either break your board or win. But if you insist on me hurrying it up, I will do just that. But in the end, the results not gonna fall in your favor. Cause at that time I was playing One Punch Kaiju, and when he told me to hurry it up, I did hurry it up. But he lost that one. He lost that round. So that was a lesson learned on his behalf. Yeah, I definitely wanted to get that part out, especially for you meta players that don't have the patience. Because with your attitude and your mindset, think you have an unbreakable board that once I establish this board, you can't do nothing about it. You're going to lose. Hurry your turn up. No. You will give them the same benefit as they have given you. So you sit there and be patient just as they did to you. It may take them 3 minutes to complete their turn versus your 8 to 12 minutes. So sit there, be quiet, and be patient. That's it. Respect all across the board. That's why we have problems in the Yugi community or any TCG community out there, because y'all think y'all pro and think once I have this I automatically win. No. And then sit there, look at the person thinking he don't know what he's doing, like he's a noob or something. Y'all need to just humble yourself and chill out, because someone will come in one day. Someone going to come in there with off the walls, and you're going to spend 15-20 minutes reading every card that they just played and calling the judge for extended time because you never knew this card works the way it works according to what's written in its text. So that's all I got to say about that. So I did rent it off, and I gave you a couple card tips and card suggestions. But overall of this video is to correct the rulings of my previous video, but also let you know that the Live Twin deck list that I showcased a couple videos back, I'm taking it to the tournament tonight, right after work. So with that being said, keep guessing, keep thinking, and keep dueling the way you want to duel, whether you want to win or not. Overall, just have fun. Alright guys, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and ring that notification bell for more exclusive content. And as we go along, and I'll show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your boy Rogue Scientist. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Alright, peace out. Signing off.